reaction now to the illegal immigration crackdown at Guantanamo Bay. NewsNation confirming tonight that the Trump administration is sending non-violent and low-risk immigrants to the Cuban base. That's in addition to violent gang members and high-threat immigrants. Right now, there are less than 100 detainees at Guantanamo Bay. So far, there have been 8 flights in the last 8 days. President Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi holding her first press conference at the Department of Justice just within the past hour here. Lots of questions on this one. New York, though, very clearly her next target regarding immigration policies.
We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
The charges coming nearly 1 week after the Justice Department sued Chicago, Cook County, and the state of Illinois as well over its sanctuary city policies. Joining me now, Jesse Weber, NewsNation legal contributor, host on the Law and Crime Network. Jesse, good to see you. Thanks for being with us tonight. Tell me real quick, what was the Attorney General Pam Bondi doing today? She talked about charges and some of the biggest figures in the state of New York.
So first of all, charges, loaded term. This is not a criminal case. This is a civil case. She is suing the different officials in New York. And basically it's saying, you better change your laws in New York. Really what she highlighted were the green light laws in New York, where undocumented immigrants can actually get licenses, and the DMV doesn't have to share that information with federal immigration authorities. Now, the interesting part about that is, technically, some would say, oh, that's obstruction of justice. Oh, this is illegal. An argument that we should be looking out for. It violates the supremacy clause. You're interfering with federal immigration law. There is a difference here. You don't necessarily have to cooperate with federal authorities. It is when you actively interfere in a federal investigation, you interfere with federal immigration activities. That's the problem here. So she is suing. And by the way, what does this come? This comes one day after Mayor Eric Adams, who's been very critical about immigration. He now is let off the hook for a period of time until the next election. The chess pieces are moving into place to change New York, so this becomes a city where is going to be pro-immigration enforcement.
The big names, though, were named, at least according to the Attorney General Pam Bondi in this. Kathy Hochul, Letitia James. What, if anything, how, if any way, does that raise the stakes for them?
Well, she's basically saying all of you are responsible. You are the heads of law enforcement in the state. You are head of governance in the state. You are the head of the DMV.
But what does that mean, right? Like, could they? Because Tom Homan, as you know, Jesse, has basically come out and said if some of these leaders don't comply, we could put them in jail. Is that what they're setting up here?
So Tom Homan was talking about a potential leak at the FBI, somebody who tipped off information before a raid happened. If somebody did that, that's a crime. That's a crime. That's separate. But protecting or enforcing what could be perceived as sanctuary city laws, where you're not voluntarily giving over information to federal law enforcement or federal immigration authorities, that is something that's going to be battled in the court. They are going to resist this. They are going to fight this. But if there was evidence that they were actively interfering, and I'm not saying that's what she's saying, I'm not saying that what the allegation is, but if they were actively interfering with federal authorities' mission, their investigation, that's where you get into Tom Homan territory. But we're not at that point yet. This appears to be a lawsuit.
Yeah, so how does this end?
Oh, this is going to be a protracted legal fight. Here's what I have to say, though. We've seen this before in the other lawsuits about sanctuary cities. It might not necessarily be a violation of the Supremacy Clause. I think what they're going to need to do is provide specific examples about, let's say, how a green light law, how it led to someone slipping through the cracks, how it led to a violent offender being on the street, how it led to federal authorities not being able to do their job. You can't just make blanket statements. You have to provide actually more concrete evidence for a lawsuit like this to take hold.
Jesse Weber, NewsNation legal contributor. Thank you, sir.